Hi there, and welcome to let's not call it an episode, but another little uh, video in the series of me getting used to this new software and to revise my channel, Democracy Theater. Anyway, so I wanted to give my 2 cents to the dust up after the Douglas Murray, Dave Smith, and Joe Rogan. And I wanted to start out by gonna have a hard time with one of these things, move these things around, but I'll figure it out anyway. Um, so Douglas Murray is out on a book tour, and under any other circumstance, he would have been on Joe Rogan by himself. And I have no, I'm just letting you know what I think I see, right? But he seems, and I'm talking about Douglas Murray and kind of also Dave. They seem a little perplexed that they're all in the same room. However, they were all talking outside before the whole podcast started, right? So I don't know. Anyway, it was a little weird. Also, the fact that, Dave has been on that freaking podcast. I don't know how many times. So I did look it up. Sorry. And he's been on there a lot. And Douglas Murray hasn't been on there for a minute. And so I know the first big dust up on the Twitter was the how dare Douglas come into Rogan's house as if Rogan is a little child that needs protection, and as if these people don't know each other and has probably broken bread. Starts out the podcast by saying, "Hey, you know what? Since the beginning of the war in Ukraine and the war in Israel, hasn't your podcast kind of gotten a little one-sided and kind of counter to what used to be Joe Rogan? And then also and why is that? Right? It's a fucking fair question." And that was kind of like, there was a lot of things that was disappointing, but I went to breaking points. And you see, here's the thing: I would love to show little clips of all of this, but I don't know how much I'm allowed to show. So until I figure out how to talk to somebody that knows how much I'm allowed to show from other podcasts about a news event, and their commentary and me reacting to that, I can't do that. I won't do that. However, they had a whole segment there, and obviously Saga, who I'm sure is a nice guy. I've been with them since Rising. I still go to them. I still get good information from. There's I differ with them on Ukraine, mostly. But he was fucking insufferable. He's getting a little insufferable, and he went off on it. I was surprised that Ryan went after him for the one thing I'm going to talk about here in a second. But what was funny though was that Crystal went after Douglas for going into Rogan's house and questioning who his guest was, and kind of exaggerated. But I guess that's the way you do it. And I'm an old idiot that's just I want us to exaggerate less. I want us to be less hyperbolic so that we can find common to talk to each other. But that's a whole different podcast and a different segment. But anyway, she goes off on him, right, for going in there and saying, "Hey man, what's up with this? What's you've gone a little skewed here. How come?" And Crystal goes off, I tell you, and I'm not exaggerating. the way that I see it, she goes off on that, right? What is freaking hilarious is that her husband, Kyle Kalinske, who I mentioned in the last uh, uh, little video, who has been on Joe Rogan, has been going after Joe Rogan for exactly that. And if I don't fucking know Kyle, but if Kyle has any integrity and he is ever invited back on Joe Rogan, would absolutely have to bring up that fact that he's been very skewed. Now, I don't think that Rogan has, me personally, I don't think that he has been as skewed on Israel as he has been on Ukraine, where also, Rogan has repeated some straight out, falsehoods, right? About these things. And it's a fair question. And then the other thing he goes after Rogan for, which is also fair. Yes, you have interest in these things, but there are and he's talking specifically about Ukraine. He's speaking specific. Douglas is speaking specifically about the guests that Joe Rogan has had on when it comes to the war in Ukraine and on the war in Israel, right? That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about the guests that he has on about the pyramids or the UFOs or the fights or anything else like that, right? So he's talking about those guests, and that he's pointing out that it has been skewed, and he's asking why. Why is that a problem? Why can't he do that? Kyle Kalinske is screaming at the top of his lungs to me, for me, let me play this exaggeration game, right? I don't know. I think it's weird, and I think it was healthy. I think this is I've been watching Rogan for as long as most of you, right? He's the godfather of podcasting. I don't. He took things in, right? Dude, the man he's made probably $500 million easy over the last 6 years, right? 3, 4, 5 years since the pandemic, give or take, right? So, yes, he is getting insulated. He goes to his club where a bunch of people surround him in the green room who all love and adore him, but also eat from him, right? He's the fucking kingmaker in the comedy world. Him and now obviously, Puerto Rico is a garbage somewhere. Hinchcliffe, right? But Rogan more than everybody because he created them. They're not going to fucking say anything to him. Pay attention. Bill Burr, who on his last podcast during the pandemic and kind of called Rogan out and made fun of Rogan and has made fun of Rogan on Kill Tony. One of the, where fucking Joe Rogan falls over when it's Little Rascals and dragging his knuckles and his Little Rascal hat, right? But he hasn't been on, and he has a new special out, but he hasn't been on Rogan promoting that. Is there fallout? So, and I don't think Rogan deliberately is surrounding himself by yes men, but that's what fucking happens when you are the meal ticket for everybody, and that everybody in the podcast universe kind of eats off of you, right? Figuring that out. There's got to be a better way to do this. I have to use the app because apparently something. Anyway, so I believe this is the one. So one of the clips that got the real hubba that got the Twitter rocking was this little segment. So let me play this for you, and hopefully this all works. Let's go. So okay, so I want to say, like, I think that Douglas, like, he could have just fucking, like, he could he could, when Dave was wrong, he could have educated him instead of huffing and puffing. Like, he missed an opportunity, and because of that, I don't think that the needle was moved in any direction, right? But this little thing here was where the whole hubba 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 happened. So it's also important, right? Because I was one of those people. Like, so I was before the attack on Israel, right? Obviously, it was for two state solution. I readily admit I was lazy in my research, so I had a very skewed idea of what it looked like in Gaza. Like, I kind of thought it already looked like what it looks like today. Just to be fair, right? Obviously, I'm exaggerating to prove a point. But then, after the attack on Israel, I ran into an account on Twitter, obviously an Israeli account, and posted all kinds of stuff. The other Gaza or whatever, I can't remember. And I saw a whole different kind of Gaza, right? And there was all kinds of stuff, and there's the same corruption. There's in all those places. Some people are richer than other, obviously, but and there was levels to that, and there was obviously all kinds of problems going on, right? But there was also a thriving nightlife, and there was a thriving markets and thriving all kinds of stuff. So yeah, when he says that, I would have to pick a side and believe somebody. Should I believe Dave, who hasn't seen it, which is what comes up here, or should I believe Douglas? Hey, that was a good one. That one and the bisect and the as I call them, the oh shit, as I call them, the fuck you I got mine group, the libertarians or bisexuals. Those were the two. Those like, there's two comedians there, and then there's Douglas, and he has the two funniest lines in the entire podcast. Anyway, he also quotes oh, what's her name? Anyway, yeah, let's go on. That's fair. However, it's also worth noting that Dave didn't Dave didn't really become like the spear of the rational critique, without, like, Sieg Heiling critique of Israel, uh, until after, uh, after the war started, right? So what is he going to do now? Now he's going to go travel there and then get an idea of what it was before the invasion? No, right? So Douglas is right here in that, right? But he's also not. He's also not leaving room to what is that he will experience now, other than the utter devastation and yeah, just, yeah, no. So yes and no. Yes, in general. In this specific instance, no. Why would you talk about a country you haven't been in? You can talk about a situation and then you can read up on shit, but why would you actually talk about a country if you haven't been there? Unless you're talking about a country and say, hey, I'm reading into this country because I want to go there, right? But in politics, you can talk about the situation and then you can know things. And yes, if you've been there, that's better. If you know the people and the traditions and the politics of there, if you know the language, even better. All these things add to the credibility of your opinion. And we got to fucking stop saying anything other than that. No, you don't get more credibility of your opinion of Mexico because you went to Tijuana to pick up your fucking Vicodin or your whatever fucking shit that you go pick up, right? But if you go there as a journalist, or if you go there to live there for a while as an exchange student, if you go there to really engage and soak up the culture and the nation. If something happens there and you in an area that you were there with the people that you know, yes, your fucking opinion matters. If you've gone and seen the trucks drive across a crossing and have seen the aid go in or whatever, then yes, that opinion should in a real world matter way more than somebody who is saying something who has never been there. I don't know how that's fucking controversial in any way, shape, or form. However, again, as far as I know, Dave didn't get dragged into this and didn't get popular and famous until after the war started. And it was a little late there to then go establish the knowledge that he has because he's been there before and after, right? And it doesn't matter whether you like as Kim Iverson went with a Palestinian sponsored tour or you went with an Israeli government sponsored tour. You learn, and if you're a critical thinker, then it doesn't matter. You still learn from the experience. Should you do both? Preferably. Can you learn from both of them? Yes. Do you know that you're being fed propaganda? I fucking hope so. Right? Anyway. And and this part is very important, right? This is very important because a lot of people say that Douglas says that you and he does a piss poor job of explaining what I just said before. But this is very important what just happened there, right? What did he say? Let's do it again. You can talk about what you want, right? All the criticism is saying he says that you can't talk about anything. That's not what he's saying. He's saying in his very British way, in his very well educated way, uh, in that language, he's saying that an opinion should be weighed more and that you can talk about whatever you want, but it's strange to him and also to me that this opinion, and it goes back to then why is Joe Rogan relying so much on your opinion? Like Joe Rogan literally said in one of his podcasts, don't fucking trust me. If you want to know about this and you want to go talk to Dave Smith. What the fuck? Dave Smith. Oh shit, sorry. Anyway, me. I said that. I said that. I said that. I said that. And again, after I trusted people, right? I trusted people that have spent a lot of time on reading. I didn't care deeply. I supported a two-state solution. I liked that there had been no real hostilities, so it kind of wasn't on my radar. That wasn't, But asked, yeah, they're, and I mean, it's not like it was a fucking, Hotel California, or kind of, because you can check in, but you can never leave. So maybe it is like Hotel California. Anyway, I believe that, and then when I saw these other videos, then I saw that there was beautiful homes, beautiful areas, beautiful restaurants, beautiful markets, everything that you expect to see in a Middle Eastern country, right? The markets, the food, the culture. It was all there. It was all there. Yes, somebody's selling generators or something. They'd figured out a way to siphon off the generators from the UN trucks delivering, and then they were selling them privately, and therefore they were living better. That fucking sucks, and but it happens all the time, right? It was in the Second World War. It was chocolate and pantyhoses, right? Got you a lot, telling you, got you a lot. Um, so anyway, back to Douglas. Instead of saying wow there, I think that Douglas Murray should have kind of gone over and said, you know what? Well, any gas chambers there. There wasn't any forced labor. They weren't sleeping on top of each other in barracks. And then it was a missed opportunity, right? Where his frustration, like, and I understand that frustration, right? Because it fucking sucks that it's gotta suck for people who have really spent a long time diving into issues. And I'm not saying he's like the poster child of that, but I'm just saying in general, right? We're supposed to now go. We're not supposed to care about a credentialed, right? It's credentialism that he's appealing to here, right? So that's not good. But on the other hand, the Trump brigade is, and the rest are saying that we should get rid of DEI and we should have the best and the brightest. Well, on these two subjects, by going to the region, there's an understanding. But what I don't, and I gotta say, Dave did hit on that for a short minute. Again, I don't know how much I'm allowed to show, but he did for a minute. He did for a minute touch on that they kind of have different ideas of what America's role in the world is and should be, right? Kind of Dave is the libertarian, fuck you, I got mine, whereas he is Europe and understand that peace in Europe has a large, and peace in the world has a large, has it, relative peace in the world, certainly in the West, has had to do with American presence there and an American influence. And yes, the European Union and the European nations in NATO has not paid what they should in NATO, but when they bought shit, they bought American shit. Now what's going to happen is that they woke up the giant. They're going to have their own industry and they're going to stop buying our stuff. Anyway, so I just wanted to end with this little thing here. I believe this is the tab. So right here, over here, Mr. Jimmy Dore, it's a bloodbath. It wasn't a bloodbath. Here, reacting to the Dave Smith, Douglas Murray, Joe Rogan Malice. Just reacting to it. I did check in on him shortly, and he said he was just going to steel man it and go through it. Because he, like I, has been baffled with how the perspective had been so different, right? We all watch the same shit. So how can it be that we all see it so differently? It's interesting. I don't know. However, that was my little commentary on that. I don't think that there was a winner. I think that it was a missed opportunity to create understanding and to build bridges and to delve in deeper to the arguments. But I still think it was a great podcast. I am happy that Joe Rogan finally had somebody on. I just don't understand why he can't be on there by himself. Unless that's a new policy where Rogan says this is too weak. Oh, I'm too weak in my knowledge about this, so I'm going to have somebody on here that knows something. Because Dave Smith knows, right? It's just on Ukraine. On Israel, Gaza. It's an emotional argument, and clearly there's a good reason for that. And Douglas Murray is it's like a I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't know how you fucking defend it, but that's what he does. Anyway, on to the next one. I hope you come back. It was a pleasure being here with you. If you stayed here till the end, take good care of yourself.